Here, again, we have the same claim at the top. But here I'm going to say below it that the Torah was never given exclusively to the tribe of Yehudah. The Torah was not given to the practitioners of the Talmud in the religion called Judaism. Since that religion did not form until the creation of the Yerushalmi Talmud, the Torah was not given to the Pharisees, the Parashim, the so-called children of Perez. For the same reason, the Torah wasn't given exclusively to the house of Yehudah, and the Torah was not given to the Yehudis, i.e. the citizens of the kingdom of Yahud, the kingdom of David and his progeny, because they didn't exist yet. They wouldn't exist for generations when the Torah was given. It wasn't given to any of those groups. It was, okay, next slide. Here's the quote from Leviticus, Vayikra 19, verse 33-34. And if a stranger sojourn with you in your land, ye shall not vex him. But the stranger that dwells with you shall be unto you as one born among you. And you shall love him as yourself, for you were strangers in the land of Mitzrayim. I am Yahweh Elohechem. And in Bamidbar, or Numbers 9:14, where the Torah specifically provides, and if a stranger shall sojourn among you and will keep the Pesach unto Yahweh, according to the ordinance of the Pesach and according to the manner thereof, so shall he do. Ye shall have one ordinance, both for the stranger and for him that was born in the land. One ordinance, one law. Let's go here to slide 23. The claim is that God gave Noah and all his descendants, B'nai Noach, or children of Noah, 7 commandments to obey. Okay? Again, this is from the Jews and Hasidic Gentiles united to save America. The Noahide laws are not found in the Torah. Period. The Noahide laws were not given by God, but by the rabbis, not God, claiming a tradition found in the oral law, which is code for whatever it is they want to make up. The Noahide laws were created by a corrupted, pharisaical priesthood which existed in the 3rd century and which was made up exclusively of those who had already considered and denied the deity of Mashiach. Okay, slide 24. There are actually Noahide laws. Okay, the laws which were actually given to Noah come from the book of Yov Helim. Now, the book of Yov Helim is categorically 100% completely rejected in Judaism. Okay? Completely rejected in Judaism. 6 copies were found in the Dead Sea Scrolls because they weren't rejected by the Essenes, who, as you know, were the true Levitical priesthood at the time of the collapse of the Second Temple in 70 AD. And what are these laws? Well, here it is in Yov Helim, the book of Jubilees, chapter 7, verse 20. And in the 28th Jubilee, Noah began to enjoin upon his sons, the ordinances and the commandments and all the judgments that he knew, and he exhorted his sons to observe righteousness and to cover the shame of their flesh and to bless their Creator and to honor their father and mother and to love their neighbor and to guard their souls from fornication and uncleanness and all iniquity. You see anything about blasphemy in there? Yeah, neither do I. You see anything about decapitation? I don't see that either. So the 7 laws are observed righteousness. What is righteousness? What is it? It's following the correct path. Cover the shame of your flesh. Stop running around naked. Bless your Creator. Yeah, how to show. Bless your Creator. Give praise. Yada Yahweh Sevaot. Honor your father and your mother. Imagine that. Honor your father and your mother. Love your neighbor. Didn't Mashiach give us this? Love your neighbor. Guard your souls from fornication and uncleanness. And finally, guard your souls from all iniquity. Okay? All right. Those are the Noahide laws. It is Antichrist and it's pseudo-moral. And the people that have looked at this, when the House and Senate passed this into a joint resolution, this joint resolution, everybody was buffaloed. Oh yeah, this is moral. This looks moral to me. It looks good. It looks like ethical principles. Yeah, I mean, who can argue with thou shalt not kill? Looks real moral. Reagan even was buffaloed into believing these Noahide laws. But a closer analysis shows what these Noahide laws truly are. They're fake, they're phony, they're predicated on a lie, and they will create a 2-class system. And those who are not in the elite class will suffer egregiously at the whim and the discretion of the nascent Sanhedrin, who will behead you for a single word uttered. Okay? And of course, they have the facility and the capability to do this. I mean, they have, the guillotine is raising its ugly head as we speak, because people think the guillotine is the way to go. Well, yeah, I mean, the guillotine does work pretty effectively at the fish cannery if you're trying to, prepare the fish. But when you're talking about beheading human beings, allow me to remind this world, okay, that this Chabad Lubavitch, which was, the chief sponsors behind Zionism, and Zionism was rising in the late 1800s as a movement, and that Zionist movement, when it joined with the Jesuits, moved with American money to overthrow the Tsar in Russia and to create a communist system that was run primarily by Zionist Jews. Joseph Stalin, Yosef Jugashvili, Vladimir Ulyanovich, who went by the name Lenin, and Trotsky, who was also, these guys were all atheist Jews. And and under their tenure and under their leadership and under this promotion of communism, 100 million people were slaughtered in the last century by their own government. 100 million people. And of course, what we want to hear about, what the world wants to talk about over and over again, are the 6 million Jews that the Zionists want to call a Holocaust, a burnt offering, but the rest of the world should know as a genocide. And the 6 million Jew genocide done by Adolf Hitler and the Third Reich is worthy of condemnation, okay? As is the death of the other 17 million people they killed as well, worthy of condemnation, as is National Socialism worthy of condemnation, okay? All of that's worthy of condemnation. But let us not forget the 100 million that were slaughtered before that, and that they were slaughtered under the rubric that we need to have sacrifice. It was a rabbi, together with Jacob Schiff, who made the decision that the Tsar's family needed to be slaughtered in Yekaterinburg in 1916. And not just, you're talking about a guy and his wife and all their daughters and their young son. And not only did they shoot them to death in the basement of this building in Yekaterinburg, but then they dismembered the bodies and stuffed them down a well. The murder was so gruesome, the guys who committed the murder couldn't live with themselves. They couldn't live with themselves because of what had happened. But they were told, because the rabbi had made a decision, that a blood sacrifice was required in order to create the communist state desired by the Zionists, who were being promoted by Chabad Lubavitch and the Jesuits, to overthrow this czar and to, again, impose their idea of Noahide Laws at that time they called the Communist Manifesto, right? They had a different name for the Noahide Laws then, and they had a different Sanhedrin, the Komsomal. But ultimately, you still had a two-class system. You had the elites who were under the Talmud, secretly under the Talmud, secretly applying the laws they wanted to apply, and you had the lumpen proletariat, all of whom needed to die at random. And some of the deaths that were committed under communism. Come on, let's talk a minute, okay? Let's talk a minute. When Stalin wrote a letter to the mayor of Yekaterinburg and said, I need 6,000 more dead this month. I don't care who they are, just kill another 6,000 people. When the mayor of Minsk, Belarus, every Sunday would pick 250 people randomly, take them into the woods and shoot them. When Khrushchev, under the orders of Stalin, went into Ukraine and sequestered all of the crops, all of them, 100% of them for 2 years in a row, until Ukrainian mothers were saying, I have 5 children. The youngest one is not going to get fed because I only have enough to feed 4 people. And when the youngest one is dead, I'm going to die too. There were 10 million people who died in those 2 years in Ukraine. 10 million people in 2 years. They starved them to death. And they did it without any compunction whatsoever. Okay? Because you're something less than a human being. They knocked all the crosses off all the churches, and the people who were destined for the gulag were those who professed faith in the Messiah. Will they do it again? Let these Noahide laws come into fruition. That's exactly what you're going to see.
Hey everybody, this is Shad Sullivan coming to you from the headwaters of Bitter Creek, Archer County, North Texas. We have to talk. State officials will be assisting to help identify potential alternative markets if a producer is unable to move animals, and if necessary, advise and assist on depopulation and disposal methods. Ladies and gentlemen, we are plowing under vegetable crops from coast to coast. We are euthanizing millions of chickens. We are aborting sows and burying feeder pigs. We are dumping milk by the hundreds of thousands of gallons, and now they are preparing us to depopulate the fat cattle ready to harvest because of a bottleneck created by the effects of COVID. This thing hasn't been created by COVID, but the effects of COVID and the logistics therein. Yesterday, the first shipment of imported beef from the country of Namibia hit the shores of the United States of America. And yet this morning, they are telling us to prepare to euthanize harvest-ready cattle. It is time we get food on the shelves, because if you're not concerned about this food supply problem, you better be. We have a huge supply and demand of food across this nation. We can feed the world ourselves, and yet we're destroying our harvests. At the same time, we are importing beef from other countries, beef that is less regulated than our beef, less safe, not as high quality of product, and yet it's happening. At the same time, they are preparing for us to euthanize our harvests. That doesn't sound like sustainability to me, but it is part of the overall goal to vertically integrate your food system. You see, they cannot have control of the people unless they have control of the food, the water, the land, production. It is time we get back to work. We are of, by, and for the people. This is not Nancy Pelosi's country. This is not Donald Trump's country. This is your country, and you're going to go hungry.
And while American farmers are destroying their harvests, U.S. beef is exported to China. U.S. meat plants are closing at a rapid rate, including Cargill Meat, who supplies 22% of the U.S. meat market, and who partnered with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in 2018 to end livestock production, while expanding the production of genetically modified soy in Africa.